1-1. Mayo launches one. Left field in deep. In the corner she goes. And that baby is gone. Coby Mayo, not in the original starting lineup, with an Earl Weaver special that gives the Orioles the lead.
Coby works hard. He cares a lot. And, for him to come through right there was huge. For him, for us, it's a late scratch ambush for him, but all of our guys, but to his credit, prepared. He was ready, prepared.
Let her go.
Yeah, you heard sound that was the final out of the Orioles W over the Yankees. You also heard Craig Albernaz talking about Coby Mayo. Look, there's been a struggle, right, so far for the young 24-year-old. The one theme of this, and for every player, when you're struggling or not, be ready. And I think that was the perfect example of knowing I'm not in the starting lineup. I'm struggling. He could have been, woe is me. I've got to figure out things in my dome. That's when the game can speed up. But I like the fact that the Orioles battled. It was a tough day against Ryan Weathers, who was nasty for, 7 innings. They end up scratching something. Adley goes to the opposite side, gets on base, but Coby's ready in that moment when he faces a different pitcher, getting the lefty, curveball slider that hangs up in the zone, and bam, he's on it. So it's just about being ready in those moments. And I'll tell you from firsthand, a lot of times your mind can be somewhere else, especially when you're struggling at the clip that he's at. I like the focus. I like the understanding of knowing I might have a better matchup here and knowing that, hey, I've got to be ready no matter the situation. And another thing I'll mention too is from a pitching standpoint, the young kid Nunez, I know this ain't a highlight for everybody, but the young kid Nunez who's in the back end with the Orioles, 24-year-old rookie, he's got some nasty stuff. I like the way they finished the game. He was able to get his second save of the season. Adley throwing it down to the second base, them putting the tag on him. Finishing the games is going to be important for the Orioles because they will get some runs. Gunnar will start going. Alonso will start going. It'll be about finishing games for them here moving forward.
I mean, listen, I don't think there's anything more difficult than having to navigate a season with so many guys on the injured list and prominent guys and important pieces to what you built in the offseason, right? The additions that Mike Elias made were based off of what their roster construction looked like. Obviously, adding a giant piece like Pete Alonso is going to elevate you and give you that home run production and that power surge. But having so many guys on the IL is sometimes going to make guys press, right? Maybe Gunnar is pressing. Maybe Pete is pressing to be that guy. But for Coby Mayo, he just needs to find his stride. He doesn't have to be the guy on that team. If you're watching on MLB Network or if you're listening on MLB Network Radio, Jake Rill of MLB.com, he covers the Orioles. He had a quote from Coby Mayo that I wanted to highlight real quick because I think, this speaks to mental health and also what guys are going through. Is Coby said that he's leaned on his family and his girlfriend and his dog during this time. He's got a goal. Scruggs and our producers, Tim and Patrick. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, X. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. I'm ready to get into some of this baseball. We only had 6 games yesterday, so I was locked in on every single one of them. So let's get into it, Danny.
Yeah, we said it was a small but mighty group of games from last night, and we're going to catch you up on all the action. That's what we do here early in the morning. And listen, we're going to start with the Seattle Mariners. They're still trying to get back to 500 baseball right now. Julio Rodriguez is off to a huge start, maybe his best start of his career so far. He plays a giant role in yesterday's game. So does the pitching staff, by the way. But ultimately, Julio goes yard, and Seattle wins 3-1 over the Houston Astros.
Here's the 0-2. Swung on, that's crushed. Left field, ain't no doubter. It's on its way. It is gone. Over the Crawford boxes, off the wall, Julio. A no-doubt solo smash. I think he almost put that through the wall. The Mariners lead 3-0. The 1-2. Swung on a miss. Beautiful pitch fading into the dirt. No chance for Cole. Strikeout number 7 for George Kirby.
Yeah, heck of a ball game tonight. It was a team effort up and down. Thought getting some runs early was huge, especially in this ballpark, and giving George some time to settle in, which he did. I thought George, he stayed the course and kept throwing up zeros. That they were able to get the one inning there where they scored the run. But a great job to George, and then of course the bullpen. You can't talk about this one without the bullpen. Kind of firing on all cylinders tonight, and it was a good one to get.
You heard a sound there from manager Dan Wilson there of the Seattle Mariners. And Danny, when I look at yesterday's game, I'm thinking about Julio, who took batting practice, doesn't typically take batting practice. I'm going to let you talk about the BP. But what I saw yesterday on the field on an 0-2 pitch is something that we're so used to seeing more towards the latter part of the season for Julio, but it's been early this year. And I like that he's made those adjustments a lot earlier, starting to get more of the power, the backspin. He went up into the Crawford boxes. The shot was big time. And when you see somebody go that deep on a pitch with 2 strikes, one of the few mistakes Lambert made yesterday, 414-foot shot, 106 off the bat. When I think about Julio's adjustments, it's been about 2-strike adjustments. It's about still understanding he can do damage with 2 strikes. It's about staying in his zone with 2 strikes and feeling like he can get back into counts. That's what I've loved seeing from Julio so far. And not to mention, earlier on in this game, in the top of the second inning, you give George Kirby a lot of that momentum by having some good at-bats with guys in scoring position. So for the Mariners, offensively, they've got to figure out other ways to score without Cal Raleigh. 0 for his last 36. Guys have to contribute in different ways. We saw that early in the game yesterday. It allowed Kirby to go out there and be efficient and have a lot of success in the innings in which he threw.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I think the world of Seattle's pitching staff. I got to see them in person. Obviously, Brian Wu didn't have the outing he wanted against St. Louis, but their pitching staff hasn't even scratched the surface of how good they can be. And they're going to get Bryce Miller back, which is a huge deal for them. They're going to move to a 6-man rotation. Their bullpen has thrown the second fewest innings in the league so far, something that is a staple for them, something that will be important for them to not only keep pace in their division, but keep pace with the rest of the American League, the way that the Yankees and the Rays have been playing right now. But for George Kirby to go out there and spin the ball the way that he did, knowing that you're going to get Bryce Miller back, like number one, highlighting that pitching staff. I love watching those guys twirl it. But then offensively, you mentioned Cal Raleigh. He got bumped down in the lineup. He has been hitless for a while now, still able, though, to come out and be able to control his pitching staff. That's a huge deal. For you to be able to flush it and have that goldfish mentality, that's harder, I think, than people realize for him to do. And so that speaks to Cal. That speaks to the work that he puts in day in and day out, even if he can't get it done at the plate right now, which has to be incredibly frustrating. But I have faith that he's going to figure it out. One more note on Julio. He's 25 years young, right? We've put a lot of pressure on him to get out the gates and have better starts to this season. I think he's having his best career start so far this year. And you mentioned it. So pregame in Houston, I love moments like these, and I wanted to show it here. Pregame in Houston, there's a fan who comes out and he's heckling Julio. Adam Jude wrote about this for the Seattle Times. And this fan says, hey, I bet you if you can hit a sign, an exact sign in the outfield, it's a Lexus sign, okay? If you can hit that sign, I'm going to give you my shoes. His shoes, I swear to you, his shoes. There's Julio, if you're watching on network, walking over to the fan to get those shoes. They're flip-flops, by the way. So the fan has no shoes. The fan is walking barefoot in the stands in Houston. And these moments, Julio's personality. Julio is a face of the league. He's a voice of the league, and he's hitting his stride. It takes guys a second. He has been a superstar his entire career. He just hadn't had a chance to figure out the beginning of the year, and he's done it now. This is a guy who can win multiple MVPs. I expect him to win a World Series. That's how dang good he is. But moments like these are this is the whole point. The whole point of the sport and engaging with fans and being entertaining. And he did it with an Astros fan too, making that guy's day. I guarantee you, in a light moment, Julio taking BP on the field. But I am a fan, and I'm a fan of this moment. So I wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, show some personality, right? Like that's one thing you know you're going to get with J-Rod is he's going to be smiling. He's going to be enjoying the game. He's going to be passionate. And a lot of times we don't get that in the mundane of 162 games over 180 days. So it's one of those things that draws people in, and I can appreciate it about his game because it's easy to be uptight. It's easy to be young and be like, man, I got to stay locked in, focus on what I got to do. Yes, but also this is a game. like we playing a kid's game, so you got to enjoy that. I remember Brandon Phillips told me that after I got my first major league hit, I wasn't smiling. He's like, yo, young fella, don't forget this is a game. This is what you played in Little League. Enjoy it the same way. So I love that aspect of it, and J-Rod does that.
Yeah, he does it so well. The best of the best, honestly, in making that fans' day. Let's get to our double because Michael Soroka was excellent last night. It's a 1-0 ball game. That's all the run support that he got, but he's able to set the tone, and Arizona beats the Rangers 1-0.
Got really well.
That's Torey Lovello talking about Michael Soroka and those dogs in the back end of the bullpen that closed out this game. And look, I look at a team that when I tuned in on this game, I'm like, okay, I'm expecting to see Nathan Eovaldi out there on the bump. He's scratched because of some side tightness. And I'm like, oh, this might be a big offensive day for the D-backs, knowing they get in a bullpen game. That first run was as important as the first and only run was the most important thing that they did. Some back-to-back doubles. You need Ketel Marte and Perdomo to get going offensively. It's good to do it early. And then you keep that lead because of Soroka going out there dissecting. This has been the brightest piece of the D-backs so far, what Soroka's done. In those last 2 games, 12 innings, or 12 2/3, has only given up 1 run. So the fact that, you know, we don't know what the D-backs are right now, especially when you look at the rest of the division, the National League. What I do know is that Soroka has been the bright part of that rotation and going out there and giving them something to offer and stay in games each time out. So I think it's impressive to see what he's done. You're looking at the D-backs starting pitching and what you've seen from them and what you'll get from them recently. And what I like, too, is that those guys, Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez, Merrill Kelly, they're getting older. So other guys have to step up and give them a little bit more of the swing and miss. You get that from Soroka yesterday and the bullpen as well. Seawall gets his 9th save of the season, and not easy to do with the Rangers having played some good baseball lately. D-backs in that World Series 2023 type rematch were able to take this one 1-0.
Yeah, I think Arizona's still trying to find their identity right now, right? They're playing 500 ball. They're just trying to figure out, how do we get incrementally better? How do we use the guys? How do we use the experience we had from our World Series guys to bring it back here? Corbin Carroll doubles, Perdomo doubles to bring him in. That is all they got. They've got to find other ways to start generating more runs to be able to keep up, right? If you want to keep up in your own division right now with the Padres, with the Dodgers, then you're going to have to find other ways. Soroka, what a bright spot, to your point, X, the way that he's able to perform 10 swings and misses yesterday. The Rangers coming off a series victory over the Chicago Cubs. They had 2 shutouts in their weekend, and then they get shut out yesterday. So it truly is like any day, anyone can win. But it's a great win for the Arizona Diamondbacks and Michael Soroka. A big deal for them as they try to get above 500 right now. Our triple is the Yankees and the Orioles. This game was wild. So Ryan Weathers had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning. Okay, that's number 1. Coby Mayo was not supposed to be in the starting lineup. Samuel Basallo was a late scratch. Mayo gets in the lineup. The no-hitter's broken up by Adley Rutschman. Mayo hits a go-ahead three-run homer, and the Orioles beat the Yankees 3-2.